Fourth.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Afternoon, we'll call a meeting to order at 4:33 p.m. So we'll start with the approval of the February 8th agenda. You all good on it? Chrissy? Motion to approve the. Okay. Motion carries. Approval of the October 12th minutes, and we're back to October 12th, because since then, so they were unofficial meetings after that. So motion to approve the also October. You good, Chrissy?
Second.
All righty. In favor? Aye, we're good. All righty. All right, we'll go with the board chair's report. Alrighty, the Long Island Railroad released their most recent customer satisfaction survey at the January MTA board meeting. And while it does show a slight improvement on the prior survey, customer satisfaction is still considerably below the pre-Grand Central Madison percentages. We will have a guest speaker later in today's meeting to provide further details on the survey. Speaking of Grand Central Madison, MTA, Long Island Railroad, recently celebrated the first anniversary of the start of service to this terminal. And it was also announced that Madison is finally starting to attain the 40% of Manhattan-bound ridership that was originally projected. The Long Island Railroad also announced that the system-wide on-time performance for 2023 was just slightly below the on-time performance target of 94%. However, it's the position of this chair that OTP should now be considered only as a Long Island Railroad performance metric and not an indication of customer satisfaction. And the reason behind that position is that the Long Island Railroad has changed the standard by going from timed connections to transfer opportunities. So we do have situations where train comes in 4 minutes late scheduled time and the connection is already gone. So they move the transfer opportunity. So again, OTP does indicate the metric of how the railroad is running the way they want it to run, but with some of these missed connections, it doesn't necessarily reflect how the customers feel. The New York State Comptroller's Office released a report last week analyzing transit needs in the coming decade for the MTA Long Island Railroad. It is hoped that the MTA's upcoming 20-year needs assessments will address many of the concerns raised in the report. One of the key items in the state of good repair category is the purchase of new rail cars. Needless to say, I'll continue to monitor the delayed M9A procurement, which is necessary so we can finally retire the remaining M3s, of which approximately 100 remain in the fleet. And within the next few years, certainly within the 20-year needs assessment, the MTA is going to need to start looking at the replacement of the diesel fleet, which is now over 20 years old. And while upgrades, possible electrification to the Port Jefferson branch are still in the discussion planning stages, a promising sign is the Long Island Railroad is in the final stages of finalizing the acquisition of property in Stony Brook, or it might actually be Port Jefferson, that could be used for the construction of a new rail storage facility that will be critical in giving the Long Island Railroad the ability to provide additional service on that branch. And that's basically it for the chair's report this month. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question if
Yeah.
you know about the M3s. So 100 remain in fleet. Do we know how many, like the percentage of rides are on M3s?
We really don't know. We can ask Annabelle when Annabelle comes up. It's something she can research.
Curious how often they're used.
Oh, they're
Oh, I see them, but a percentage would kind of tell us a good indicator of what the likelihood of someone riding.
okay, yep. Do we have any other questions out there? Alrighty, so we'll move down. All right, so we need a nomination and vote for the Long Island Railroad Commuter Council to reappoint me to the MTA board.
Yes, so this is, we have to take a vote every few years to reappoint our members to the MTA board. These nominations are sent to the governor's office for reaffirmation by the Senate. And I apologize for my fuzzy face but for reaffirmation by the Senate, and this is that time. So I'd like to call for nomination. Did Larry join us?
No, he's still,
Oh, okay, so I thought I saw Jack waving at somebody. I'd like to call for nominations to appoint Jerry, to name Jerry as the nominee, to stay as the LIRCC's appointee to the MTA board. May I have a second, please? May I have a motion for the nomination? That would either be Brian or Christie.
Vote not, to vote Jerry as nominee for the Long Island Railroad.
Okay. Brian, would you like to second? All in favor?
I,
Okay, Jesse, I'm gonna ask you not to put that stuff in the chat, please, while we're conducting business. Thank you. Okay, now, great, so that motion carries. I would like to now entertain a vote to move Jerry as the candidate for this to be the LIRCC's reappointment to the MTA board. May I have that be moved by either Christie or Brian, please? Or you
Motion
need
to
to just- okay, and then seconded.
all in favor? Aye.
Okay, great, thank you. That motion carries. Great. We will send a letter to the governor's office. Thank you.
Be sure not to tick her off in the next couple of months.
We try not to tick her off so that our IDs work on a regular basis. Yes, thank you.
So then it goes to you.
Great, thank you. I apologize for not being there and being fuzzy, but as you can tell, it's probably better that I'm not sharing my joy and germs with everyone today. Your PCAC staff has been very busy these last few weeks, busier than usual. Jack and Kara and I just came back from Albany, so maybe that's where this is from, where we had meetings with Senator Comrie and a number of his colleagues. Senator Comrie is our champion, essentially, in moving forward. Several pieces of the priorities that we've discussed with you as part of the budget, as part of his budget priorities in terms of allowing for peak morning discounts for seniors, disabled, and Medicare riders on the Long Island Railroad and Metro North, which is the only time when those eligible travelers are not able to use those discounts. We just learned that even Governor Hochul is not eligible for those discounts because she just turned 65. For fare fares, for city-funded fare fares on within the city on Long Island Railroad and Metro North, and for a city ticket, a weekly city ticket to replace the Atlantic ticket that was lost. And there was a good deal of support for that. There was also gave us an opportunity to discuss the voting membership legislation that's being carried by Senator Gennardis and Assembly Member Dinowitz. And there's a good deal of interest in that. And it's particularly timely since the Suffolk County representative for on the board is being replaced since there's a new Suffolk County executive. Sammy Chu will be leaving the board at the end of February, which is as long as he can stay as his term continues. The governor is asking him to stay on, but he needs to be reaffirmed for that. So 3 names have been submitted by the governor to the governor, forced by the Suffolk County executive. But that doesn't, nobody takes that seat until they're confirmed by the governor's office, by the Senate, I'm sorry. So we expect that'll happen in June sometime. So there are plenty of empty seats at the MTA board table. But there are 3 excellent members now who should be afforded the right to have the vote that goes with their voice to chair committees, to contribute to a quorum, and to make motions. Arguments that you are all very well aware of. We are continuing our search for an associate director. we have several good candidates that we are pursuing. But before I go there, I just want to thank Jack and Kara for really stepping up and stepping out. Jack has been our electeds whisperer, and has a lot of contacts and people in Albany, and has been really working it there. And Kara has been learning a lot about the federal side of things, and will be complementing our team in that regard as we continue to look for our associate director. And as Jessica holds down the fort and runs things from afar, we may drag her with us to Albany the next time we go, because we will be there. She's not quite sure what she's in for yet, but we'll be heading up there. Our next PCAC meeting is in March. We are reaching out to both the new IG, who just put out a report, their annual report, looking at their accomplishments for last year, which was his first year in office, and also to Jamie Torres Springer to look at what's happening with regard to the construction, the capital program for the coming 4 or 5 years. Waiting for him to let us know whether this is the time or if June is the best time for that meeting. And we are working hand in hand with the MTA on several initiatives as well, or researching and looking at a number of things, including the work that they're doing on the housing front, how that fits in with the governor's carrots and sticks. I don't know if you saw her press conference yesterday, but she literally had a bag of carrots to entice places, towns, villages, hamlets, to become designated as housing locations, as opposed to saying you must do this. It's an opportunity for the localities to say we want to do this, and provides funding opportunities and other infrastructure build outs like sewers and things like that. Kara and Jack, and Jess, am I missing things?
I think that you covered a lot of our top priorities.
Yeah. Okay, does anybody have any questions for me?
Can y'all hear me? Hi, Lisa. Can you
Hold
hear
on,
me?
Jesse, hold on. Jesse.
Sorry.
Hold on, Jesse. Members first. Jerry.
I'm good.
Okay. Okay, Jesse.
Okay, I was reading the chat to say question. Okay, hi. I'm gonna have to step out at 5 o'clock. I just wrote in the chat ahead of time.
Okay.
So those are the requests that I asked for.
Okay, hold on. I will look in the chat. Thank you. Okay. We're talking about ADA and infrastructure at Long Island Railroad facilities. That's something that we will discuss when we come up to Annabelle's.
Really quickly, since I know you have to leave, Jesse, I know you mentioned this at the ADA task force. We're looking into both of your requests, and I'll follow up with you, okay?
Thank you. I'll
Thank
stay
you.
on for another 10 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. Christopher?
Hi, guys. It's also, just for the record, it's Chris and Deborah all together as one.
Okay.
Yes. Before I say my question, Jessica, have fun in Albany, but all I can say is, be extra jackets with you, when you go up there. One thing I just want to follow up with one thing I do want to support you, Lisa, on this, because I read what you wrote, and I have to say, for the record here on the Long Island Railroad, it was a fantastic. I agree with you, because on the Long Island Railroad in Metro North, it's not fair that we have to pay the fare to go into Manhattan. But when it comes to the evening, going back to the island of Long Island, it's a reduced fare. So it's something that I've seen this, and I will support this as a community, as well as a Long Island, as a advocate for people with disabilities to the highest level. So,
Can I add something really quick?
and Debbie's going to add her 10
Okay,
cents.
Hold on, first, I just want, thank you for that. There's a lot of interest in that, and a number of the elected officials that we spoke with said, well, that's a no-brainer. And a reporter I had spoken with said, my mother and dad have to pay that fare. It doesn't seem right. So there's a lot of that going around.
Can I
Deborah?
just say something really quick?
Yeah, you just-
Thank you. Okay. In reference to that, the reason I even support you is that we have a governor or elected officials keep pushing people with disability to go to work.
Mhm.
But how can you go to work if you have to pay full fare because you're just starting and you don't have the cap, because people don't realize how expensive it is. When I used to visit our friend out West Hampton, the round trip was over $20 and that was close to 30. And that was reduced fare.
Mhm.
That would be taking almost my old social security check, and that's what a lot of seniors go through. So if you do need me to also testify, please let me know.
As well as me.
Thank you. Thank you. No, that's definitely the point that we're making. Thank you. I also wanted to
You're
give
welcome.
that, hold on one sec. While we were on the train coming back from Albany, Kara testified at the federal grants hearing that the MTA had in support of the MTA's application for federal grants. So
Congratulations, Cara. I did.
hold on, I'm in the middle of speaking, Christopher. We don't hold our meetings this way. We it's what's that commercial? Always working. Right. Thank you. So, all right, Chris, did you have something that you wanted to add? Okay, great. Maddie, I think you had your hand up next.
Yeah, thank you very much. Excellent report. I do concur with that. But do we know who are the names that County Executive Ed Romaine is putting into the list for the Suffolk seat?
Yep, he put forward Mitch Pally, Mark Herbst, and a woman who is, Annabelle, do you have her name handy? She is an Islip town legislator.
Searching right now.
Okay, an Islip town legislator.
Oh, a Republican?
I didn't.
Stony Islip Town Board, I don't.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
okay.
don't know her party.
Because I know Mitch Pally's a former
Mitch
board
Pally's a
member.
former. Yep, he is.
It would be nice to have him back on. He's been a good, and I also spoke that we need critical funding for these accessibility, and I pointed out to the Greif family that they're big advocates for this. We need to have not only for people with seniors and disabilities, but with people who have low incomes and the poorest of the poor as well.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Adam?
Hello. I know that I spoke to, I know that corresponded last week by Ewan Mastaglian regarding my two concerns. I'm sure if you can find anything out, you would let me know. My concern continues to be the communication between the LIR and its passengers and the way they're treated. In terms of this point in the meeting, I guess my concern is my question about like how the scheduling is and the software that's used. It just and I'm just using this particular question as an example, but it seems to take far too long to get the answers to simple questions. And I know it's not you. You're trying to get the answer. Is the LIRRCC doing anything about customer issues regarding and concerns regarding communication?
So I actually have received an answer to your question.
Okay.
It happened while we were not that long ago, actually, and I apologize for not getting it to you.
Oh, that's okay.
So I'm going to tell you what the response is that we received. And I'll tell you that it says transfer opportunities by nature are just that, an opportunity, not a guarantee. I think that we might take issue with that, but it would not be operationally prudent to hold mainline trains for Port Washington trains or the opposite at Woodside. This hold even at 30 seconds could have cascading ripple delays through the system. In addition, transfer opportunities were never designed between subway service and Long Island Railroad service and would not be practical or possible.
Okay. Nothing on the scheduling software, right?
No.
Okay.
But I
Uh,
would imagine that there is scheduling software, but I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
And anything about my communication question that I just posed would be appreciated. Thank you.
In terms of what we're doing regarding communication between the railroad and customers, riders.
Sorry. There has been a noticeable decrease in response levels in terms of public responses, such as on Twitter, when people tweet, they're not publicly tweeted back. And any response from the LIRR falls into a few catch-alls that we're monitoring or that it's not possible. Is anyone making sure that it actually isn't possible and they're not just saying these things? Because it seems that there's no support for these claims, and it's causes customers to lose a lot of faith in the system. Thank you.
I would ask if you see that that's thematic or happens regularly, if you could screenshot that and email it to me, that would be helpful.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay. Back to the room.
All right, Lisa, did you say, yeah, we did the communications, social media update?
Yes, I will be giving the social media and communications update today. Sorry, the camera's a little bit angled badly. But just a few things that we picked up on from the Long Island Railroad's communications. We've seen that some riders reported overcrowding on trains, still specifically those leaving events from Madison Square Garden after the event, like Rangers games, and also during peak hours across different lines. And a lot of riders indicated that the train time app showed cars as being either crowded or completely full on a regular basis. There have also been complaints about delays on trains that lead to riders missing connections and those transfer opportunities, emphasizing the need for reinstating timed connections, especially at Jamaica. There were also some suggestions about having more quiet cars on the Long Island Railroad, similar to suggestions that we've heard from our Metro North Commuter Council. And lastly, in general, it seems like there have been fewer complaints about the Long Island Railroad schedules following some of the more recent adjustments beyond general overcrowding on trains and the loss of time connections. That's it.
Alrighty.
And Jess and Kara, I'm sorry, Kara and Jack had the up and over dash experience today.
We talked about that before. We had to run to make a 6-car Port Jeff train to Mineola. But we made it, and the transfer was held a few minutes for our late arriving Brooklyn train, which we were thankful for.
Well, that's one of the things we beat the drum about, is particularly Port Jefferson branch trains, or any train, any branch where you could have an hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour gap if you missed one. So I know Rob Free said that they would try to do what they could, but he wasn't making any guarantees. Alrighty, I guess we're down to the customer satisfaction survey. Is that Annabella, is that Samantha doing that, or?
Yes, it is.
Correct.
Oh,
Hello.
okay.
Take it away, Samantha.
I will take it away. Can I share my screen? I think I can.
Be able to-
Yes.
Okay, let's, can everybody see the screen?
Yes.
All right, fantastic. Thank you, Lisa, for, and Mr. Bringman for having us come here and to talk about the work we love in customer satisfaction. I'm going to go through briefly what was presented to committee to give you the kind of like the same chance to react to it. And I'll try to be as brief as possible, but feel free to interject at any time if you have a question. Though I think, you know, we might want to wait until the end. I'm not sure.
I was
Hopefully-
going to suggest waiting to the end.
Yeah. Okay. So
You know, to start though, it is a customer service, because
we're not in customer service. We're in market research.
All right,
Customer service are the people that answer the phones and, you know, they're on a different floor, different department where we are no longer in communications. It's part of the transformation. We are now part of strategic initiatives.
okay,
So the fall 2023 biannual customer satisfaction survey called Customers Count, like customers matter, was conducted November 6th through the 20th, 2023, and we offered it in English and Spanish online, and we did have a phone option for people with accessibility issues who needed assistance in taking the survey. Overall satisfaction is up from the spring. It's up 2%, 2 percentage points. It's a good move in the right direction, and as we'll see, almost everything aside from Port Washington is moving in the right direction. So key drivers of satisfaction are service related. Peak service frequency, on-time performance, service reliability, and I would even add transfer experience in there since it comes up as the highest key driver this time around for Long Island customers. For when we asked people who were dissatisfied, what would increase, you know, what would increase their overall satisfaction, the top 3 were shorter wait times, improved service reliability, and better fare incentives. No surprises there. Just, you know, we show an overall trend for both railroads together, and then we can look at Long Island Railroad alone. So pre-GCM opening, Long Island was at 81% total satisfied. And, you know, the GCM opening, people, their anger at the change in behavior that they had to adopt is reflected in a lower score. But the changes that, you know, Rob and his team are making and continue to make, we're seeing some movement back forward. So we're very hopeful about this. Then we look at the data by branch. And over on one side, you can see the sample size for each of the branches. So Oyster Bay and West Hempstead, we have fairly low sample size, under 400. Those two, you know, we understand that, you know, you have to we can look at it overall, but you can't do too much digging because statistically it's not valid once we start getting into too small a sample size. We see increases by branch, except for Port Washington. Any questions? We're reporting change only as statistically significant change, so we're actually doing statistical testing to make sure that we're not just showing a percentage change, but that we're showing real change from wave to wave.
I'm curious why Long Beach was. So I can understand
Yeah.
why it was as low as it was, but the Long Beach.
I mean, this is one of the things we've definitely pointed out to the leadership over at the railroad already, that Long Beach is, you know, something that they need to address both in terms of safety and security and issues with cleanliness. And I think there's a general feeling at the Long Beach station that something needs to be done there. But you know, or they're just more critical.
Right.
So one of the things we did was look at overall satisfaction with the railroad based on where they're going to, what their destination is. And the important thing to notice here is that, you know, from the spring, Atlantic Terminal is up 10 percentage points. GCM took a hit, and I think how we explained it was that in order to really get the balance right between Penn and GCM, there's going to be some dissatisfaction among people. To get Penn up, GCM came down a little bit. So we're hopeful that in the future, like if that will, as people get used to the schedules and figure out how to get to the terminal they need to get to at the time they want to go, that we'll see these scores increase. On the side, excuse me. We also link this back to, why is Penn rising? Well, Babylon was up 7 percentage points overall, and Huntington, Port Jeff was up 7. For GCM, we have some decreases from Port Jeff, so decreases from Montauk and a big drop from Port Washington. So we think the drop in GCM is largely driven by Port Washington customers. For Atlantic Terminal, the increases are seen because now there's, well, I know it's West Hempstead, but there may be some direct Hempstead service also that they restored. So there we have that. Next. The thing that you guys keyed in on it also is that we're looking at the whole transfer situation and moving from the guaranteed transfer to what are they calling it? The transfer opportunity. Yes. That we're really starting to kind of ask people how much they transfer, where they transfer, and how satisfied they are, with the railroad overall, but also with their transfer frequency. But this is just to show you that the people who always have to transfer, first of all, the segment is growing slightly up from last time, where it's 24% now. It was, I think, 21 last time. So this group is growing, and the satisfaction with the railroad is also growing. So that to me says that we're doing something better with the transfer situation.
But you're also seeing that the very dissatisfied is increasing too.
Well, I can go back and check the very dissatisfied and see if that's going, because the 55 is really the sum of the blue and green. So that's up 5 percentage points. How that's distributed from, how that conversion works, I can always look into.
The numbers are right.
So then we also wanted to look more deeply at these people who always have to transfer, because they're the ones that are loud and saying, fix my transfer. So, first we looked at where they were going, and in the spring, 32% were going to Penn. Now 27% are going to Penn. 28% were going to Atlantic Terminal, and that's also decreased down to 22%. And we see an increase, twice the number of people who are going to GCM. And we also did a regression analysis to understand what the key drivers for each of these groups are separately. And interestingly enough, for the always, sometimes, and rarely, transfer comes up at the top. It is the key driver of their satisfaction, along with peak service frequency, which comes up on top for everybody. The always and the sometimes, OTP is not the highest thing, and for the never transfers, OTP isn't even coming up on the radar. We have some theories about people who never transfer may not be your typical commuters. They may be more discretionary, represented by more discretionary, who can pick on the schedule a train that doesn't require a transfer. So, and they're going someplace and they just want to get there. They're not looking at the minutes because they're not trying to get to the office. That's just a theory, putting it out there.
I have
Lisa?
a question, and I think, and Adam has one also. It's not a terminal, but what about Woodside?
So we have looked at Woodside. I don't think we put that into committee, but there's about 11% of customers overall are transferring at Woodside, and I am going to be pulling out some base sizes and looking to see what's going on there. It's
Yeah,
we are.
there's been some issues there also.
Yeah, and it's, let's see, I think, yeah, it's not in this. But I can definitely share with you more information on Woodside if you would like.
That would be great. Thank you.
So talking about the key drivers, these are we do perform a regression analysis that combines importance along with their attribute rating to determine what are the key drivers of satisfaction. And these are items that if you improve them, it will improve overall satisfaction. That's the connection. Other things that are maybe not as important, but people are still very satisfied or not satisfied, those are issues that the railroad still is going to address and look at and try and, determine how they can raise satisfaction for those items. But these are the key items that we like to talk about. And they are service related. And this is the first time in a while that we've done this analysis using an actual regression model. And the transfer experience came out on top by far, like very by far. So, this is the paramount thing on the minds of not only the customers, but the staff at Long Island Railroad, as they're actively engaged in, looking and continually trying to improve the schedule so that they can allay people's fears and issues. Any questions? No. Oh, I see hands raised. Well, let's hold off because there's only a couple more slides and then we can
Okay.
I can key back.
Right.
Then we looked at stations that had, so we look at stations individually. Most stations we get a fairly small sample. What we looked at is the stations that had the biggest change, the biggest percentage point increases from spring to fall. And this shows short term, who's doing better, the perception. So Babylon, Jamaica, Central Islip, Penn Station, Hempstead, and Atlantic Terminal, people are feeling better about the stations. And overall, because these are overall station ratings, they are excited. And these ratings are combined of boarding and lighting, so it's anybody who's using the station. For Penn Station, we wanted to call out, really because we're seeing increases and being able to report out some good news about the Penn Station reconstruction and what the railroad is doing, making a concerted effort to make the experience at Penn Station something that people walk away feeling like they've been in a world-class train station in New York City. Biggest gains, overall station, cleanliness, and just the continual renovation for lighting and space and raising the ceiling all contribute to the feeling of lighting and cleanliness that people are reporting back to us. We also looked at the lowest stations, and for the most part, we're just looking to see, what we want to look more at the change. These are the ones where the overall station rating is at the bottom, but it doesn't mean that they're horrific. It just means that they're at the bottom of the list. So,
I'd question Hunter's point.
yeah, I mean, it's a platform. There's no one really there. It's kind of, it is what it is. But, people
But
feel,
Hunter's point is horrific. I
Yeah.
mean, there's no way of getting around, and I kind of question the fact that you have stations.
I know, I had this discussion with Teresa this morning that, we ask a set of attributes, across and without even realizing that a lot of these stations, we offer a not applicable for people to say, no, this doesn't apply to me. But that doesn't mean that people don't decide that they rate something like station staff helpfulness because it shows the need for staff, that they wish there was somebody there rather than how helpful someone really is who's there.
Because there is no staff.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
So we're gonna take that as something that we improve for the next year of customers count, to really figure out, do we need to pull it out of the main attribute ratings and talk about station staff, ask them first, it's more complicated to say, to only ask it of people who have staff at their station, because then it would be a very small base size and we wouldn't be able to get a good read. So it's either removing the attribute entirely or doing something else. We'll figure it out. We've got a couple months before we got to go back out into field. So yes, I understand the concern. It is well noted. And the thing that I wanted to highlight is, it's more important for this to kind of look at the change. It's something, and I have data for now 4 waves of this. So, if we see a station is continually decreasing, even if it started off in the 70s and now it's in the 50s, what's going on? So that information is being relayed back to the railroad, so that they can say, well, we're identifying stations where the public perception is that the quality of everything is decreasing over time, so that they can go out and see what improvements they can make and do a visual inspection, or audit to determine what they can do to improve the customer experience.
You changed, apparently it looks like you changed the question, the wording of a question from one survey to the next, because I see that.
Yes. So the
Mhm.
attribute personal security, we had personal security at station, personal security on board, and we felt like it was that when we started talking to people that that personal security, it seemed that's not what we wanted to know how safe they felt. So safety from crime and harassment was a better fit, and it was the only. I mean, we have a lot of we dropped a lot of attributes and we changed some wording on some, but that's why we can't directly trend it. Though
Right.
in a lot of cases I've seen the numbers are fairly similar. Though safety from crime and harassment, doesn't, I guess, doesn't seem as harsh or as, secure, the word security. And we get into this where we start infighting about the exact words that we use. But we think that safety from crime and harassment accurately represents what people feel when they're at a station and there is something going on that they don't feel safe, whether it's drug use or vagrants or there's no lighting or whatever the situation is.
Please feel free to use us as focus group and your questions. That had been done in the past.
Yes, I know.
Yeah. So we're here for you.
On the most satisfied stations, do you have a breakdown similar to this? I see you broke it down for the least satisfied stations.
No, but I mean, I can provide that to you, no problem.
No, the reason I ask is you saw there was a big jump at Babylon.
Yes.
And it was, well, what did they do at Babylon to get that big jump? Personally, and again, I have no statistics to back it up, but I know that there had been, as recently as last year, a lot of concerns about safety at Babylon Station, security, people didn't feel safe, vagrants.
Right, and
I know the MPA police.
yes,
made that a focal point to concentrate.
Yes.
I'm just wondering if maybe
that's why
the police addressing that issue maybe is the reason why the satisfaction at Babylon.
I think the Long Island Railroad executive team made the same comment this morning. So yes.
Okay.
So we also asked a question about, which of the following needs to improve to increase, I hate typos. Your Long Island Railroad satisfaction. And overwhelmingly, now you can see the blue bar represents the total sample. And we did have over 22,000 respondents. So, and then I broke it out by their level of satisfaction. So you can see for dissatisfied people, wait times is the thing that will increase their satisfaction and more reliable service. Whereas the highest for the very satisfied people are fair incentives and more visible police. So you can see by satisfaction level exactly what things are important to which groups of customers. Okay, now let's get to some questions. I guess, I don't know who put their hand up first, so I'm just gonna,
We usually go with the board members, the council members first. Any council members have any questions? Larry, Brian, Christie? All right, I guess we can go to the public then, for questions. You monitoring that?
Yep, Adam had his hand up first.
Okay, yes.
Sorry,
go.
I had a couple, so I'll try and do them rapid fire. Is the raw data available? Like if I want to know the percentages for a 4 versus a 5 versus a 6, if I want to see the satisfaction for a particular station,
foil. Yes,
that's a foil.
yeah.
Okay. The next one was there always seems was the study just completed? There always seems to be a lengthy delay between the survey and the results, that the information could be outdated by the time it's released.
Yeah, well, it's market research, and yes, we do take care. And once we've collected data, to process, clean, and review it before we present it to the world. So we have shortened our release time to the board, and any shorter, and we can't, we sacrifice data quality for speed.
If anything urgent is found, is it reported to the LIR or the president intermediately before it's cleaned up for full presentation?
I don't see how customer satisfaction could be urgent.
I guess more the safety questions and things of that nature on the survey.
I mean, we always tell people if you have something urgent that you need to report, we send them to the website or to call 511 so that they go to customer service and it gets logged into the system and it's addressed immediately.
Okay. I haven't been shy that I've had major issues with both of those things you just mentioned. I wanted to ask if there's a way to incorporate communication satisfaction more into the survey, as well as if people feel that LIRR is actually monitoring some questions in the survey, or 1 or 2 questions in the survey if those can be considered for the next survey along those lines.
We're always willing to consider things, but we have to manage the length of the survey and consistency to prior waves, as well as how it fits into, because the customers count is all MTA modes except for bridges and tunnels. So it's all passenger modes. So we try and keep consistency so that we're
So you
talking
can't
about
ask
the same
different questions, LIRR versus subway, in other words.
Well, we can, but we try to keep it to a minimum.
Okay.
We want people to complete the survey. We want more people to complete it. So we want to keep it, shorter.
Yeah, no,
if we
it
find
is.
that there's a topic that requires more extensive work, then we put together a proposal to do additional research outside of customer sat. But communication, understanding, I mean, we still have announcements on board, and I think the other attribute for communications, I'd have to find it out of my brain.
I guess I've just had a number of bad experiences with 511 and the customer service website and such. It would just be nice if there was one question so I can really see and people can really see, is it just an issue I'm having, or is it an issue everybody's having?
Right. So I mean, a communication set, we don't normally ask about satisfaction with parts of the MTA.
Okay.
But a communication survey that looks at satisfaction of specific parts of how the customers interact, I will bring that to
Fair enough.
our fearless leader.
Thank you.
Sure.
And also the
Adam, I want to give everybody a chance.
yeah, I had one left, but I can hold it if you want.
Okay, why don't we do a round and then
Yeah, thank
get
you.
back to you. Thanks. Christopher and Deborah.
Yeah, we're going by alphabetical order,
Okay.
Lisa.
First, this is Chris. I have to say, looking at the survey, the one thing I'm concerned about the cleaning levels. I know Atlantic gets clean, like, holy cannoli. But my concern is when the trains are in the station at, let's say, Atlantic Terminal, do they get clean enough? Because to be honest with you, there are times when you get on a train, you do see some areas, and I'm going to say this, yes, I do put it into the app, and I do get a response. But the question is still going to be is, when the trains are going to be there for maybe an hour or 2 or 3, do they still get a little tidy up cleaning, like a little dusting or a little bit of cleaning the bathrooms on those trains? That's one of the questions. And the other question, just to add in, to see the numbers increasing, do you also do a survey on the Long Island cares? Because I know the numbers, but on a survey end, do you ever try to do a survey on how the Long Island cares are doing as well?
Okay,
Those are my 2 questions.
Okay, so the first question is not for me. I have that's
I can answer that, Sam,
Yes.
afterwards if you want to answer the second question.
Sure. So the second question on CARES, we have recently been talking to accessibility about doing some research for the railroads. So CARES would be a part of that, or we can make it a part of that. And it is definitely in the planning stages
Right.
to happen this spring.
Thank you. And I know, Anna, you wanted to.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention, if it's something that is consistently occurring that you've noticed, that's something we could bring up to our terminal leader. So I'll do that, same as Oscar. And if it's an issue that's prevalent, he'll look into it and see that those trains are at least cleaned up a bit before they go back out into service.
Thank you, Anna. And Lisa, Deborah has a question, if you want.
Okay, Deborah.
I may make this quick. First of all, thank you for showing improvement. Everything I've been saying, there's been issues for the East New York station. I feel like it's even worse than a stepchild. It's treated even worse than Cinderella was treated. And it really needs a lot of overhaul. The lightings need to be fixed. Safety is not there because one, there's no personnel there. I mean, regardless that I have the mobility, I would not, even if I didn't, would not want to walk down the stairs to go through the tunnel to go back up because I don't know if it's safe, even though they have the mirrors there, but it's still not safe. And it's so dark and parts of the platform are still cracking. So is this going to help get this because of this showing the crime and everything going to improve and fix? Maybe the station will finally be repaired the way it should be.
It's a station that it's like Hunters Point Avenue, it needs to be rebuilt.
Completely, I agree, 100%. Yes, I'm willing to test it, even to show you. I'm trying very hard because it's really not fair to the residents out there who need the trains.
Yep.
That's it. Thank
Was there
you.
a question? Was there a question in there, Deborah?
Yeah. Is it going to be, because this survey showed what's
East New York.
going on for East New York, will this push it up to get fixed the way it should be?
Or clean,
Or both, anything,
everything, including better lighting.
especially better lighting, safety. Do you understand the question I said, Lisa?
Yeah.
This,
Yeah, I'm not answering.
okay. Thank you.
Sorry.
Sorry.
We got quiet.
Okay, Adam, did you have a final question?
So I think, so I think the question is do the responses here change change where they fall within the capital plan? But that may also be a question for Annabelle.
Yes.
I'm sorry, Deborah. I know you repeated the question twice. I had to step away for a second. Could you just really briefly? Mhm.
It's basically, do the survey results
Mhm.
show, do they help to determine a priority in the capital plan?
Oh, sure. Okay. So Like any feedback that we receive, we encompass that into our review for the next capital plan. So, we incorporate that in the internal conversations. But then we go based off of priorities and needs. So I think that answers your question. If not, let me know.
And this is
Partially.
Anna, this is Chris. I wrote it down on the chat to make it easier so we can move on.
Better light and fix the floors of at East New York. I'm
East New
assuming.
York.
Okay, that is something that has been an issue for many, many years. I'm sure you are more than aware of that. So I know there have been discussions about lighting, adding more lighting at East New York. I'm not sure what the timeline is there or when that will move forward. But it is something that is a priority for leadership here. It's been a discussion for a while now, so I can see where we are there.
Okay, awesome. Thank you. And Maddie has a question, and then we are going to move to the, unless there are any other questions, then we're going to,
Okay.
Maddie had his hand up and I had one last one.
correct, thank you.
Yeah, excellent presentation, I would say, for the better part. You know, Babylon, which is my home branch station now, is the most used, even though mostly goes on Sunrise Highway, right? So that's pretty good. The one thing I am concerned is, about, I went to a Rangers game once in September of 22. I want to use the bathroom, but there's cleanliness issues. So what my dad is saying, because of, he don't want me going there. We went to a Rangers game. We have to have, if there's cleaners, that would be nicer if it was more clean and sanitary, and only have, ticketed passengers sit in the waiting room and not have, some person, even though I have a very bad back.
But I think that's not a, I think that's also not a question for Samantha, so. we
Oh,
can,
okay. I
turn
do
that to
apologize.
Annabelle.
But
That's
thanks
okay.
for
All right.
recognizing me, though, Lisa.
Thank
I
you.
appreciate.
All right, why don't we wrap it up with Adam's last question, then we'll let Sam go, and then we'll turn to Annabelle, and then we'll see if we can't get the the train on the track. Adam.
Thank you. So just very quickly to add to my
Sure.
prior comment about communication, about, considering to add a question or two, I would say train time is a part of that. Big issues with LIRR. Every time you ask them something, they point you to train time. I find it horrible and useless. No one answers you on the chat, this and that, just in terms of the survey. But my last question was, the Port Washington and Oyster Bay results, the North Shore results were in the 50s to around 60% on both of the last two surveys. I don't know how long these surveys have been done for. Are
30,
these
40
typical
years.
levels, or are they very are they considered low that it's only 50 to 60%? I guess it's a couple part question. Has there been any reaction by the MTA or regarding those numbers as of yet in terms of solutions?
Not per se. I mean, we after after the consolidation and transformation, we adopted a new methodology post-pandemic. It's not really the transformation, it's the pandemic.
Mhm.
Post-pandemic, we're not doing onboard surveys anymore. We are doing them online. So, and I'm sorry, what was the first part of your question again?
My question was, these numbers, I'm sure the LIR prefers the numbers would be higher, but are
All right,
these numbers
historically, customer
concerning enough?
satisfaction has been measured by
Mhm.
the railroad probably for the last 40 years.
Mhm.
But our methodology changed
Mhm.
in 2022. So we don't go back before that,
Okay.
because over time the methodology changes, the scales change, the way the questions change over time. You really can't go back too far to look and compare. So you know, we try and keep it to just the last couple of years under our new modified scale and the way the questions are structured and the fact that it's an online survey.
Understood. And you haven't heard of, because those two branches had the lowest, any reaction or plans regarding that as of yet? Nothing's been told to you directly, Samantha?
No, I mean, our job
I can
is,
speak to that later,
yeah.
Samantha.
Sure,
Okay.
thank you.
Yeah, she's about
Just
Oyster
wanted
Bay
to
and
take care of the part before Samantha leaves in case
Yeah,
any
no,
part of it was
I
hers.
totally get it, you know. I mean, our part is really to help create the data set and report it and then work to help people internally understand, how, so that it helps them reframe their thinking about problems that they're dealing with. So, Annabelle can kind of tell you once we've disseminated to them how they move forward from there.
Okay, thank you. Great, thank you.
You're
We're
welcome.
a little behind schedule, so let's wrap this one up and go down to Annabelle.
Great. Yes, thank you so much, Samantha.
Thank you. Thank you, Lisa. Thank you, Annabelle. Thank you, PCAC and commuters for letting us come and talk about this. Feel free to pass your questions over to Annabelle or Lisa if you require something additional. Be glad to help. Okay.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you, Sam. Good night. All right, I will try to be brief since I know we're running short on time, and I apologize for my camera. I've been having issues all day. But first,
Better than mine.
I wanted to try to answer some of the questions that came up, just so that they don't escape my mind. I'll start with the question regarding accessibility questions or accessibility related questions on the survey. So at our ADA task force meeting earlier this week, our chief accessibility officer mentioned that we are going to be releasing a survey centered around accessibility pretty soon. So sometime this spring or summer. So wanted to mention that so that the commuter council could partner with us in terms of just like spreading the word and letting people know that that's available. So when that is up and running, I will make sure to let you know. The second question that I wanted to address, or the two questions, are regarding Oyster Bay and Port Washington and some of the dissatisfaction that we've seen on those branches. And firstly, I'll speak on why some of those dissatisfactions might be there and what we've been talking about for a number of years. So for the Oyster Bay branch, one of our biggest issues with service there is just that the majority of that branch is unelectrified. And that really limits the service that we're able to provide because we can only service that branch through diesel trains. So that's a challenge that we have had for a while. And we've had ongoing discussions. Our senior leadership has spoken to a number of elected officials throughout the years along that branch to discuss electrifying that branch in the future and what that would look like and how and if it could be included in a capital plan in the future. As always at the MTA, many of our limitations come from a lack of funding, unfortunately. So that is probably the biggest deterrent to moving forward with a multitude of our projects. So just keep that in mind. At the Port Washington branch, another issue that we have there really is just space at the end of the branch. Just adding, well, we know that we're still ordering new trains, so we're providing a lot more service, yet we're still in need of more rolling stock to provide more service. So that's already a deterrent there. But on the Port Washington branch, at the end of the branch, we really are limited in storage for our trains. So that's something that, again, our senior leadership has been in discussions with the elected officials along that branch for a while. So unfortunately, I don't have any updates there, but I just wanted to explain why you might see some issues when it comes to providing more service on both of those branches. Now, going to my updates, I really don't have as much of an update as I would like to this month, which is why I wanted to answer those questions first. But I wanted to focus on the ADA projects. and talk a little bit more about them since we're getting close to the completion of a couple of them. So that's pretty exciting. So for the ADA package 1 project, where we are working on 9 stations in total. Construction is continuing at Amityville, Copiague, Lindenhurst, and Massapequa Park with the installation of the elevator shafts there. We expect that the Amityville, Copiague, and Lindenhurst stations will be completed by the first half of this year, and Massapequa Park will be completed in the second half. At the remaining stations, that's Laurelton, St. Albans, Locust Manor, Valley Stream, and Auburndale, design is continuing. We expect the designs to wrap up by the end of this month. And construction at St. Albans, Valley Stream, and Laurelton will commence in the second and third quarter of this year. Like I mentioned at our last meeting, the ADA Package 2 was awarded in December, and that includes Forest Hills, Hollis, and Babylon. We are already, we've already brought the contractors on board. We actually are meeting with the Queens Community Board 6 in March to update them on the project at Forest Hills. And soil boring will begin at all 3 of those stations pretty soon. We're still finalizing dates, but that is coming on board. So just to quickly go over each station and what's happening at Forest Hills. We are extending the platforms, and we are going to be making the ramps that are there currently. We're going to be making them ADA compliant. Right now they are not, as well as adding various station amenities. We're upgrading the ADA station house restroom, adding health points, cameras, USB charging stations. At Hollis Station, we are installing a new ADA compliant ramp on the north westbound platform and a new elevator to the eastbound platform. At Valley Stream, Babylon Station. Babylon Station is more of a state of good repair project with ADA improvements. So we'll be replacing the 2 existing elevators with 2 new elevators. And we are doing a canopy replacement there. And we're also replacing the escalators that are there, as well as other amenities similar to the amenities at Forest Hills. So help points, things of that nature. Let's see. I think that's it for me. Yep, that wraps up my updates. Any questions?
Right, any of the council members have any questions? Right, Mel?
No.
I see, Maddie, your hand is up.
Oh,
Oh, sorry.
I've got one quickie for you. The funding is all in the capital plan for the, for what you've announced on those plans, or for the phase 1, I guess you called it?
For package 1?
Yeah, package 1.
Package 1, yes, it's we've been working on these stations already since last spring. So they will be
Yeah.
completed. Let's see, we have forecasted substantial completion date for this project by Q4 of 2025. So for all of those stations, that's when we project we'll have substantial completion.
So I'm actually going to piggyback off of Larry's question and ask if any of the projects that you've been talking about or that are upcoming could potentially be held up by any of the lawsuits from New Jersey that we've heard about.
Well, we've awarded the contract. Anything further than that, honestly, I couldn't answer at this moment. We're proceeding. Our contractor, like I said, is on board. We're getting ready to soil bore. So we're proceeding with this project. If we get any directive in the future, we'll work with that. But I haven't heard that these projects will be delayed, not to my knowledge.
Thank you.
Of course.
Hey, I think the council members do we have any of the public that have any questions?
Matty has his hand
Matty?
raised.
Oh, excellent report, obviously, though. it's, accessibility is really a priority for me, in my opinion. In fact, Joe, I did put it in the chat that I'm interested in maybe join the Long Island Railroad task force, even though I don't use it very often, the train. And then I'm just wondering, how do you get in, and maybe join the advisory committee on transit?
Why don't we follow up with you offline on that?
All right, you got my email, right?
Yes, we did. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, ma'am. Good night.
Thank you, Maddie. Good night.
And
Ah.
Adam has his hand raised, and why don't we make this the last question because we have to roll.
Yes.
Yeah.
So my question is, I know the timetables say they're ending March 3rd, but it was tweeted today the timetables are changing in late March. Do we know if the timetables are changing March 4th or later in the month? And also, are the changes going to be minor like January or more significant? Thank you.
So I'm still waiting on the March timetable changes, actually, so I can send them out to our email blast. I'm hearing that they are being finalized right now, so I would guesstimate within the next week or so we'll have the new timetables to share.
And you don't know if it's going to be early March or late March, right?
No, I'm not aware right now.
And is there a way I can get that email blast?
Of course, I can add you to the email blast. I have your
Thank
email.
you. Thank you.
Definitely. Mhm.
Alrighty, Annabelle, thank you so much. As always, we greatly appreciate your time.
Of course. Thank you. Good night, everybody.
And then, already going down to old business. Does anybody have any old business they want to bring up? Alrighty, one quickie, I was just prompted by something I saw on social media. I'm gonna try and follow up with the legislation regarding the wage works situation. We just heard crickets from the elected officials. They were gonna do all this stuff for us, so I do have the contact information for Senator Gillibrand's office, and I have to go back and check my notes, or maybe Lisa can guide me on the congressional people who said that they would be working on that. I think Esposito was one of them in Southern Nassau, so I'll reach out to his office. Was Garbarino one? Do you remember, Lisa? Well, so like I said, I'll check my notes and see if I can find out, and I'm not holding out much hope, but we're starting to see people again offering to buy tickets at a discount for other people so that they can use their. So that's not something that's evaporated. It's still out there, and there's still people with considerable amounts of money held up in these wage works or
But once it passed,
transit checks.
once that passed that period of time, it's lost.
Yeah. But yet I still saw one the other day, just,
The majority of people, the money's gone.
All right, so again, it's just something to look into. Again, I don't have a whole lot of hope for it, but just one last shot before we let it die. Does anyone have any new business they want to bring up? Being none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn today's meeting.
Second.
Okay,
Thanks,
in favor?
guys.
aye.
Next meeting is PCAC on March 7th.
Thank you kindly, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Lisa.
Bye.
Lisa,
everyone.
Good night.
Lisa, can you just stay on for a minute?
Yes.
Yeah, and after the recording?
All right.